I'm Jet Black.
Saz's body is gone. The trio wander around the apartment, completely unaware. The next morning, they are approached by Paramount Pictures, who wish to propose a film adaptation of their podcast. A party is thrown in LA, and they meet the actors who will play them: Eugene Levy, Zach Galifianakis, and Eva Longoria. Realizing Saz is missing, the trio investigate, finding a bullet hole and her remains in the incinerator.
I'm Eugene Levy.
Oliver and Mabel investigate the west side of the Arconia, whilst Charles is visited by Jan. Saz called her last week, and she's worried. Meanwhile, Oliver and Mabel meet Vince Fish and a Hispanic family of 3, Alfonso, Inez, and Ana, who invite them to a card game called Oh Hell, and tell them about an always locked apartment belonging to someone only known as Dudanoff. Jan warns that Saz was poking around the building recently. Mabel uses Saz's notes to break into the Dudanoff apartment. They find a pig in the bathtub and a ham radio. Jan escapes before the police arrive for her, and Charles reports Saz's murder. The trio investigate, finding the remnants of the words "tap in" on the floor as an encouragement for Charles to solve her murder, while Oliver realizes the Dudanoff door code numbers spell "Oh Hell" upside down.
She's real.
Eugene, Zach, and Eva arrive to study the trio's characteristics for the film. Mabel and Eva investigate Rudy Thurber, a Christmas-loving resident, after finding a piece of tinsel in Dudanoff's apartment. Elsewhere, Charles and Eugene discover that Vince has a group photo of all his neighbours, one of whom is holding a pig and has their face crossed out. Mabel squats in Dudanoff's apartment, and the trio discover a frequency on the ham radio, making contact with someone who warns them to stop their investigation. The trio learns that Saz visited a bar for stunt performers on the night of her murder, so they go there to ask some questions. They meet Glenn Stubbins, Glenn Roy's former stunt double, who introduces them to the bar's chiropractor, Dr. Maggie. Saz saw her the day she died. She reveals that Saz planned to retire. Meanwhile, the residents of the West Tower confess to Mabel that all the West apartments are rented by Professor Dudanoff, who resides in Portugal but lets them live there. They also reveal the person who warned the trio on the ham radio was just Rudy's paranoid ex-girlfriend Helga, and that none of them had ever even met Saz. The trio go to the location Saz wanted for her training camp for stunt performers, surprised to find Bev there, gun in hand.
Don't move or I'll blow your fucking brains out.
Bev explains to the trio that she was trying to investigate Saz's death, as she left an unsettling voicemail about a problem with the film. Suspecting the killer is someone on the film, the trio interrogates screenwriter Marshall P. Pope. Marshall questions Charles's theory that the murder and the disposal of the crime scene could be done in 12 minutes. Mabel discovers that on the photos they took of the film crew, someone has the same shoe print they saw in Dudanoff's apartment. They set a trap to figure out who it is, while Charles realizes the murder is in fact feasible in 12 minutes if 2 people are involved. As the trio discovers the directors Tawny and Trina brothers have the shoe prints they are searching for, the lights suddenly go out and a gun is fired. Zach and Glenn are shot and hospitalized. Detective Williams informs them that Dudanoff is not in Portugal, and they learn that he was the film professor of the brothers' sisters and the West Siders. William sends Saz's remains to Charles. Inside, they discover 2 left shoulder joints. There was more than one murder in the building. The trio confronts the brothers' sisters, who admit that they were in Dudanoff's apartment on the night of Saz's murder, but only to visit him and to place hidden cameras in the building for behind-the-scenes footage of the film. They are shocked to find out the other shoulder joint was Dudanoff's. They receive a text message, "I'm watching you," along with footage of themselves from the last few days. Realizing the killer has been monitoring their every move, they leave the Arconia in fear to find a safe place.
Action.
The trio hides at the home of Doreen, Charles's sister. Loretta visits and ends up in a brawl with Doreen due to the latter's crush on Oliver and her distress about her estrangement from Charles. Doreen and Charles make amends, promising to visit each other more often, and Loretta and Oliver talk about the future of their relationship, with Loretta accepting Oliver's marriage proposal. Later, Howard calls the trio and reports his discovery that the West Tower residents are individually cashing social security checks in Dudanov's name. The Westies meet with the trio and actors to clear their names. They explain how they each came to be friends with Dudanov before he moved to Portugal. Doubting their story, Mabel invites Helga to tell hers. She talks of how suspicious the others became when the podcast first started, but the Westies show a video Dudanov made explaining the truth. Dudanov found he was terminally ill, so he committed suicide, but asked his friends to hide his death from Helga and the authorities for the sake of all their well-beings. They decide to not use this information in the podcast out of respect. However, Helga informs them that Saz contacted her during her investigation and mentioned that her former stunt double protege turned out to be dangerous. Was it Glenn?
Why can't we ever get a ding-dong?
The trio finds out that Glenn replaced Saz's protege after he was fired. Learning that Ron Howard directed that movie, the trio tries but fails to track him down. Meanwhile, Glenn is killed, preventing Mabel from asking him any questions about this secret protege. Charles and Oliver eventually meet Ron, however, at a restaurant. He reveals that Saz's protege was named Rex Bailey, showing them a photo. They recognize him. Meanwhile, Mabel discovers the original script for the Only Murders movie, written by Saz. Rex Bailey is Marshall. Rex keeps her hostage. Charles and Oliver realize it was one person. Rex did it in 12 minutes by traversing the inner ledge of the building, something a stunt performer could do with ease. They rescue Mabel. Rex admits that he envied Saz's talent after reading her script draft, so he stole and sold it to Paramount under a different name. When Saz found out, she threatened to expose him, prompting him to orchestrate her murder. He attempts to kill the trio as well, but they are saved when Jan shoots him from Charles's apartment, avenging Saz. A few days later, Oliver and Loretta have their wedding. A woman named Sophia Cacciamilio approaches Charles and Mabel to hire them to investigate her husband's disappearance. He has a connection to the building, but they turn her down. The next day, the trio finds Lester, the doorman, dead in the Arconia's fountain.
Thank you for calling 911. There are 72 emergencies ahead of you.